Audience shouted Meg'DON'T cash in on other agony after she forced guest to recall daughter's death. The Duchess of Sussex was left speechless after she heard about the traumatic experience of Victoria Jackson during the latest episode of her Archetypes podcast. Meghan Markle was left speechless after makeup mogul and medical advocate Victoria Jackson shared her traumatic experience of losing her 13-year-old daughter in 2008. In the latest episode of the Her Archetypes podcast, the Duchess of Sussex presented it as the biggest challenge of all for Ms. Jackson, who fought for her daughter's life. Eventually, her daughter died of an autoimmune disease, which led her starting a foundation with her husband in a bid to find a cure for their daughter's disease. During the recording, Victoria, one of the Sussexes' closest friends in their new life in California, spoke of her daughter Ali's illness, which started with a headache near her eye. The youngster tragically died of an autoimmune disease known as neuromyelitis optica, NMO, aged 13 in 2008, the Daily Express reported. Victoria said, "It's sort of like every parent's worst nightmare all of a sudden. You have a child who hasn't even been sick, you know? It's like every parent's worst nightmare all of a sudden, you know? You have a kid who's not even sick, and you know, one day we're going out. And she started telling me I had an eyeball headache and she started losing some of her vision. And I think she has an eye infection and you know, we are going to the eye doctor tomorrow. Take some Tylenol here. You're going to be fine." Ms. Jackson described the time from the first symptoms to the diagnosis as very horrible. And that kind of very long horrible week from finding out that it wasn't an eye infection, but an optic neuritis, which was an inflammation of her optic nerve, and going to see the neurologist and finding out after a blood test, for what would be a rare disease that she ultimately has. It's used to be known as Devick's disease, neuromyelitis optica. Most people misdiagnosed with MS that have this. And they tell me that she has 4 years to live. Meghan remained silent after hearing the harrowing story. Reacting to the tragic news in a voice note, Meghan Markle said, "I can't imagine as a mum that your daughter has 4 years to live." Her daughter Ali was just 13 years old at the time of diagnosis, and the disease neuromyelitis optica, or NMO, is an autoimmune disease that affects the nervous system and can cause eye pain and vision loss as well as weakness, numbness, or paralysis in the arms and legs. Meghan remained quiet after hearing the harrowing story. Reacting to the tragic story in a voice note, Meghan Markle said she can't even imagine as a mum hearing that your daughter has 4 years to live. Her daughter Ali was only 13 at the time of her diagnosis, and the disease neuromyelitis optica, or NMO as it's often referred to, is an autoimmune disease that affects the nervous system, and it can cause eye pain and vision loss as well as weakness, numbness, or paralysis in the arms and legs. The death of her daughter prompted Victoria and her husband, Bill Guthrie, to start Guthrie Jackson Charitable Foundation to champion basic scientific research to find new treatments and ultimately a cure for NMO. Victoria said, "Immediately in that moment, my life changed and I went, as I say, from mascara to medicine, and I got myself to the Mayo Clinic and I met the only doctor at the time who was doing any research, which they said, was this very rare disease." Victoria continued, "So anyway, he was doing some research and I said, hey, you don't know me, but I've a lot of cosmetics and hey, I make lip gloss, cosmetics and hey."